All right. Good evening, guys. My name is Samuel, and this is Group 3. And we'll be talking about research designs and sampling design. And so, under research designs, we'll talk about quantitative research design, qualitative research design, and mixed research design. And then we'll move on to talk about the sampling design. So, what is a research design? It is a philosophical and methodological blueprint of a study. So, it's like a module of an actual study. It reflects the researcher's worldview, that is, in terms of positivism, interpretivism, and pragmatism, and determines whether the study adopts quantitative, qualitative, or mixed approaches. So, in general, research design is talking about how research is modeled depending on the actual phenomenon. So, what is the purpose of a research? Why should you have a research design? What is the purpose, the importance of a research design? So it clarifies what will be studied. It ensures validity, reliability, and objectivity. It guides data collection and analysis, and then it facilitates clear interpretation of results. And so with this, we realize that the research design is a very helpful process in performing a research. Now, there are some components of a research design, very important components. So one is the research problem. The research problem is a statement that gives or that talks about what is to be studied. The research objectives is what the study seeks to achieve. The research questions is the questions the study looks forward to answer. The variables, independent, are like the samples and the situations, the events to consider. The population and sample are what we will require to collect our data, and the limitations is what will restrict us from getting certain data in the research. So we have core classification of research design. The first one is quantitative research design. Second is qualitative research design, and then the mixed method research design. So for the quantitative, according to Wang, it is defined as a structured systematic plan for collecting and analyzing numerical data that enables researchers to test hypotheses, to measure variables objectively, and generate generalizable results through statistical methods. We can also say it's a systematic empirical approach to research that focuses on collecting and analyzing numerical data to draw objective conclusions. And so we realize that quantitative data is not really, it's not numerical, as seen, it's not numerical. And so the data required is like in abstract form. And so we collect data from persons, and this data is like based on emotions and perceptions. So that is what the quantitative research talks about. So the design is based on the perceptions and the emotions of the sample people or individuals to collect the information from. So what is the purpose of a quantitative research design?
Please, what did you say that quantitative again?
What did I say? The quantitative?
It's again, yeah. He said it's about
Non-numerical. Hey,
Are you
sorry.
sure?
Yeah, I think I made a mistake there. Thank you for correcting me. It's numerical
Okay,
data, basically
good.
numerical data. So
Yeah.
collecting the ages of persons, the ages, the weight, the height. You see, these are all numerical values. And so it was a qualitative, sorry, that I was explaining. I'm sorry for that. And so, yeah. And now, what's the purpose of a quantitative research? It's for testing hypotheses to measure relationships between variables, to examine the cause of something and the effects of it, generalizing results to larger populations. So, you pick a small sample, you make deductions from them, then you infer on the larger population. And the characteristics, it uses numerical data, it's structured and predetermined, objectivity and replicable action is an objective behind it, and it can be replicated. So you can find how should I say, a copy or a module can be made from it, and it uses statistical tools. Now, what are the types? We have descriptive. Descriptive describes what exists, and there's no manipulation of variables in the descriptive design. It uses surveys, questionnaires, and statistics. And examples of this descriptive research design is the study of students' study habits. Then we have correlational. It examines relationship between variables, determines if variables are related. Then this one has no cause and effect. So examples are relationship between and time, steady time and grade. Experimental talks about, the characteristics of the experimental. It also tests cause and effect. It has control and experimental groups. It uses random assignment. And so most of the deductions made are made randomly. I mean, not it's not like a certain target person is involved. So we want to make sure the data we collect is as accurate as possible. And so we just do random sampling and then assigning randomly. Example is the effect of a new teaching method on a test score. And now let's look at another type, which is the quasi-experimental. It also tests cause and effect without random assignment. This one was without random assignment. And it uses existing groups. And so if you have a certain group of people or available group of people, that is what you consider when doing the research. For example, impact of a school program on students' performance. Now, limitations of quantitative research design. We have generalizability versus depth. Generalizability talks about how much inference you can make on the population. And depth is maybe how detailed the research weren't. Complementary methods, and we have ethical and practical constraints. So ethical and practical constraints could be more like social or religious issues might be a constraint depending on the type of research that is being conducted. So I'll give it to my colleague to take care of the qualitative research design.
Unfortunately, they want to take care of the qualitative, just left the meeting. So I will take care of the qualitative. So according to Oranga and Materi, they referred qualitative research to be a methodological framework that emphasizes the essence of human experience, meanings, and social realities, rather than numerical and measurement. So basically, the qualitative is the opposite of the quantitative, whilst the quantitative is using data like numbers. The qualitative uses experiences, right?
Yes.
The emotions of the people question. And moving on, we talk about the purpose of qualitative research design. So first of all, it captures life experiences. So here it talks about why. Understand? So with the why begins to capture life experience where people tend to explain their reason for a particular answer, whether a yes or no. And also it explains relationships and norms. So basically qualitative talks about relationships as well. And also to uncover the tangible factors. So here someone is choosing yes. Someone is saying maths is difficult. But you don't know what that factors are. What's leading to the person to say that, right? So the qualitative research design aims to factor out that tangible factors and also to answer how and why questions. Just like I mentioned earlier on, how it's happened works with the qualitative and why something is happening. All these answers come from the qualitative research design. And finally, it complements the quantitative research design. So already we've conducted a quantitative research design. We've gotten the data. But now to get the deep meaning or the reason behind the data, we have to conduct what the qualitative research design to get those meanings. The next slide, we're talking about some key characteristics, right? And the first one is it is explorative and interpretative. Yes. So the qualitative research design tends to explore beyond the data we have, right? Beyond the research, beyond just the numerical side. And it also has a contextual emphasis. So here, the emphasis here are clear, right? Based on a particular topic, particular problem you're tackling. According to qualitative research, its key characteristics is to make sure that what we are basing on, right, it's clear. And also it's flexibility, right? It's flexible. Then we have participant-centered. So here, the participant-centered basically talks about the people involved. So the quantitative just ask for the data or go for the data, then just ignore the people afterwards, right? But with the qualitative, it makes sure that the people are involved, then get to know their idea or their reasons behind their choice of answers, right? So moving on, we talk about the types of qualitative research, right? So we have the grounded theory. So here, explanations are grounded in the participants' own explanations and interpretations. Here, what the participants say, those that are involved in the research. I mean, those that are researching on what they say is where we get your explanation from, right? And also, we have the ethnography here, the researchers within the community to observe practices, beliefs, and interactions. We also have the phenomenology, where qualitative research explores life experiences to uncover the essence of human phenomena. I've already talked about that in the previous slide. So moving on, we're talking about some the next slide. Still on the types, we have the narrative one, which examines how individuals construct meaning through narratives, and you have the case study, which involves a detailed, in-depth investigation of the development of a single event. Here are some limitations of a qualitative research design according to Saraswati 2025. He says it is subjectivity and research bias. It's generalizability issues here. Then also the data saturation and management. These are limitations to it, right? And the last one, we have the ethical concerns. Also, my brother Joshua will continue with the mixed method research design.
Joshua.
Joshua.
Okay, so the next method, which is the mixed research design. So as my brother said, the quantitative deals with numbers and the qualitative deals with explanations and findings. So this one, if you hear mix, you are talking about a blend or a mixture of the two. So the mixed method research is exactly how it sounds. So it's a blend of quantitative and qualitative approaches. So it's based on the idea that you can get like a complete picture by using numbers and narrations. So here it is flexible, it is practical, and also maybe it is also used for complex research questions. As said by okay, so why do we use mixed research design the purposes? So it helps us to triangulate findings. help us to translate findings. That is, leverages strength on both paradigms. Paradigms. Okay. The second, which is enhanced validity and reliability. So here the research done is valid. It doesn't have any kind of ambiguity inside, and it is reliable. You can rely on the research. You can rely on what it has given out to be the truth. So it provide multiple perspectives, and also it guide practical application, as I said already. So the key characteristics are integration of data types, flexibility and adaptability. It's flexible and adaptable. It enhances validity, then complexity handling. So let's move on to the next slide. So
Do you know a clear example of a mixed research design? Do you have an idea what, like an example of it?
Okay.
Do you have an idea?
For the mix.
Yes, please.
Okay. So like, for example,
Yeah.
conduct a survey of a large group, then interview a few to understand the why behind the trends. Or the
Okay.
interview. So you interview people about trends.
Okay. So let's take it back to what we presented on like our major presentation last Friday, right?
Yeah.
So you see, we're talking about I asked a question in class if mathematics is difficult, right? And I mentioned that I need a quantitative answer, meaning just yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, right? So what they gave was a quantitative. So me going forward to ask why are you saying maths is difficult becomes what? Qualitative, right? And in that sense, I've combined both the qualitative and the quantitative. Yeah, and that becomes the mixed research design. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you can continue.
Okay, so we move on to the limitations of mixed research design. So the limitations, however, mixed research method research can be resource intensive, meaning it requires skills in both quantitative and qualitative method. And the blending of the two types of data isn't always straightforward. So you need expertise in this side. There might be a risk of one approach overshadowing the other one if not carefully balanced. So here we are talking about they should be on an equal scale, meaning the qualitative answers shouldn't have, I don't know, they have to be mutually exclusive, as in probability we say mutually exclusive. They have to be independent on an equal balance. So let's move on to the next slide. So next we talk about the sampling design.
So I think
sampling design.
our time wouldn't permit that, so we can just brush through on the sampling design without thorough in-ear conditions. Yeah.
So let me brush through.
Let me take you through. So basically, sampling design is a structured plan or strategy a researcher uses to select a subset of individuals, right? Groups or units from a larger population in order to collect and make inferences about the population, right? According to Ahmad and Watkins 2024. So sampling design has some key characteristics. It has a purpose as well. Sam, are you there? The next slide. Are you there? It has a purpose and a core principle, right? So the first one is accuracy and validity, and it turns down to the stages. Then finally, we have the practical limitations. So for the limitations, I think, let me see. It says for researchers, sampling design is not a one-off decision, right? But it's a continuous process that requires reflection and adaptation. So it's not a one-day decision. It's a continuous something, right? And for educators, the framework provides a teaching tool, right? To help students understand the purpose the purposive sampling beyond a simple definition. And for reviewers, it offers a criteria to evaluate whether sampling decisions are methodological, sound, well, and justified. So this ends our presentation online. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.